We're here to celebrate Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. There's a very important teaching of Rabbi Nachman Breslover about Tammuz. It's Likutei Moharan. Rabbi Nachman says that Tammuz is Zichru Torat Moshe Avdi. This is a pasuk at the end of Malachi, which is the end of Nevi'im. Before there's a cessation of Nevuah, Pascha Nevuah, and the Navi, Malachi, says, Zichru Torat Moshe Avdi. Remember the Torah of my servant Moses. And there's a big Zion in the word Zichru. So Rabbi Nachman says, if you take the name of this month, Tammuz, Tav Mem Zayin, that's Rashi Tevos, that's initials, Zichru Torat Moshe. Chiluf Otiyot, you have to transpose the letters from Tav Mem Zayin to Zayin Tav Mem. That's what Rabbi Nachman says. So you're left wondering what's the Rabbi hinting at? What is he alluding to? Of course, you need a certain emunas chachamim. You have to believe that there's something very significant being conveyed. Otherwise, you're on your merry way. But if you have emunas chachamim, emunas tzadikim, so you believe that this little remez, Rabbi Nachman, must be conveying something of very profound significance. Pascha Nevuah, or we're...
No, we're on. I'm checking which...
So what is it all about? And hopefully by the end of this whole Sudah, we'll know more what Rabbi Nachman was trying to convey. Now, yesterday was Shabbat, and I was left thinking about something that we had discussed the last time. Neither of you were here, you were sick, and I don't know where you were, but I shared a letter from Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Chalab that was just published in Yeshurun, Krach Lamed, Chodesh Nisan, and I don't know about you, but when I walk out of here afterwards, sometimes for days or weeks afterwards, I'm left thinking about something. So, maybe for you it's easy to just walk out of here, but I myself, who deliver these talks, I'm left thinking. And Yaakov Moshe Chalab was writing to Chaim Yaakov Levin, the son of Rabbi Levin, who was Gaon, a genius. And I always knew he was a Talmudic genius, but reading some of his writings, I found out that he was also very accomplished in Kabbalah. And his teacher, Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Chalab, writes him a letter. And he's talking about what's going on in Eretz Yisrael. And he gives a mashal. He says, very famous Gemara, Nida, of Lamed Amud Bet, which hopefully we'll be reading soon. Darash Rav Sigloi. says that the fetus inside the mother's womb is taught Kol Torah Kula, knows the entire Torah. And then at the moment of birth, a malach, an angel, gives the baby a pachin ponim, a stira, a frask, a slap, and the child forgets everything. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, Doresh Rav Simloi, Lama Havlad Domeh B'mei Yimo. Fascinating passage in the Gemara. And Melamdim Oto Kol Torah Kula, learns the entire Torah, including Chedush Reb Chaim Halevi. וכיוון שבא לאוויר העולם, בא מלאך וסוטרו על פיו ומשכחו כל התורה כולה. So Rabbi Moshe Chalab said that the Jewish people come back to Eretz Yisrael. They're born anew. And they forget Kol Torah Kula. And they have to start over from scratch. And he said, I know it's the most painful thing to behold, to observe, to live in this generation, to see this, how in Eretz Yisrael there's such a monumental forgetting of Torah. Jewish people come back to Israel, forgot everything. But that's part of the divine plan, and it's carried out through people who are really not aware that they're divine instruments. They're totally oblivious, but they are part of a divine process, of a big picture, a larger picture, which is beyond their comprehension. So we talked about it last time. And your friend Fisher, Chaim Fisher, asked, well, but they've been babies for a long time now. When are they going to grow up? It's been going on for a while now. How long are they going to remain babies? When are they going to graduate from that? So I was left thinking with that. And yesterday, Shabbos, I started to look at the Gemara. And by a process of association that went through my head, other memrot, other sayings of this same Amar of Simloi. And the thought occurred to me that there could be a pattern emerging. If you string together various sayings of Reb Simloi, you're going to see something, hopefully. I just want to tell a little anecdote. When I was a bacher in yeshiva,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell the story.
It's closed. Come tomorrow. Closing? Yeah, it's closed. No, come with them. Huh? I'll come tomorrow. I said they got these shoes. Go with these shoes. Okay. Throw me out. Okay. You might say no. Yeah. Okay. No.
When I was at Bach in Yeshiva, I had a guest who he lived by me in my dorm room for about a week. He was my oreach, and he was a major league Eloi. His name was Nechemia Roshansky, and he was one of the biggest Iluyim in Yerushalayim. He was a Talmud of the Chevron Yeshiva. And he didn't marry. The story went that he wanted to marry the Yeshiva's daughter. And, one of those stories. So he couldn't have the Yeshiva's daughter, so he never married. He was an Alta Bacher. So he lived by me the room for a week, and he had a sefer called Mishnas Nechemia on Kilayim, which is a difficult Masechta, Maseches Kilayim. And I'm told that if you want to know something about Maseches Kilayim, especially with the Gra, you should take a look at his sefer, Mishnas Nechemia. His name is Nechemia Roshansky, and as I said, he was a big Eloi from the Chevron Yeshiva in Yerushalayim, and he was in flotation, rotation. He was wandering around. He went up to Rabbi Yoshe Soloveitchik in Boston, and wherever he went, he would peddle the Sefer Mishnas Nechemia. But anyway, he shared with me, he had a little heftel, a little notebook in which he wrote his Chidushim. And he used this methodology of Lashitose, which I'm going to use in a moment, where he would see certain patterns emerge that a certain Wanda Omar, if he would string together his different members from throughout the Shas, he could show you a picture of Hashkafat Olam, they call in German, Weltanschauung, how this Chacham looked out at the world. I don't think it was ever published. It was just so the heftel, the little notebook, but he let me read it. What I'm going to tell you was not in the notebook, so you shouldn't think that I'm a ganef. All right, so we have this Darash Reb Simlai, where Reb Simlai says that the fetus in the mother's womb learns Kol HaTorah Kula. Well, let me show you a few more Reb Simlais. Here's another one, very famous, at the end of Masechet Makot. It's Daf Chav Gimel Amud Bet. Darash Reb Simlai, 613 mitzvot ne'emru lo leMoshe, 365 lavim keminan yimot hachama, 248 asay keneged evarav shel adam. This is very famous. This is the basis for the notion that in the Torah you have Taryag Mitzvot. Let's say the Rambam, when he writes the Sefer Mitzvot, it's based on this. Where does the Rambam get this from? That in the Torah you have 613 commandments, and you have 365 lavim, 365 negative commandments, keneged Kaminyan Yimot HaChama, which correspond to 365 years of the solar year, and 248 positive commandments, keneged Evarav Shel Adam, which correspond to the limbs of a human being. A human being has Ramach Evarim. So that's another Darsh Reb Simlai. Let me show you a third one. This third one is not in the Talmud. It's in Vayikra Rabbah, at the beginning of Tazria. It's quoted by Rashi at the beginning of Tazria, although it doesn't say Dorash Reb Simlai, it's just Omar Reb Simlai. So, for the Nudnikus, but again, Rashi at the beginning of Tazria, Omar Reb Simlai, Kishem sheyitzirato shel Adam achar kol behema chaya va'of b'maaseh Breshit, kach torato nitparsha achar torat behema chaya va'of, Vayikra Rabbah, Yadalad Aleph. Because in the previous Parsha, Shmini, you have all the laws of kashrut, which are the kosher animals, which are non-kosher animals, and then at the beginning of Tazria it talks about a woman giving birth, and Reb Simlai said that just like man was created after all of the animals, going back to Sheshit Mei Breshit, so the Torah of man is elucidated after the Torah of the animals. What I see is Reb Simlai is keenly attuned to the Torah in the guf. That there's Torah in the human body, as opposed to Torah, which might be an abstraction, which is separate from man. There's Torah which is in the very cells of a human being. That's what I'm saying, across the board. So the first thing that we had, Nida Lamed Amud Bet, Reb Simlai is saying to you, you think that Torah is some kind of intellectual endeavor which is appropriate only to someone who's already born and has a conscious mind and can engage in intellect. I will reveal to you a secret, that this Torah within the mother's womb, prenatal Torah, it's in every cell of the uber, of the fetus. And then we go to the other Darsh Reb Simlai at the end of Makot, very famous, that there's Taryag Mitzvot, and the 365 Lavim are Keminyan Yimot HaChama. And the Ramach Esim, the 248 Pasuk, Keneged Evarav Shel Adam. Each mitzvah has an Eva. And maybe someday somebody will reveal to us. Maybe as we talk, there's someone writing a sefer, revealing to us how each mitzvah is linked to a different limb of the body. And then finally, he said, Reb Simlai, Kishem sheyitzirato shel Adam achar kol behema chaya va'of b'maaseh Breshit, kach torato nitparsha achar torat behema chaya va'of. So the Torah has to do with the very Yetzirah, with the very creation of man. Just like man was created after all the animals, so his Torah is explained after the Torah of the animals. because the Torah is linked to the very creation of the human being, to the Yetzirah, the formation. So that's something that came to me. Now, one of the chidushim of Rav Kook is that the body plays an essential part in the redemptive process. The guf hu chelek bilti nifrad mitahlich hagoel. There cannot be a gula that leaves the guf behind. The gula shlema, if you want to use that terminology, has to encompass the body as well. This is one of the big themes in Sefer Rod, which hopefully we'll visit in a moment. You'll see this in piece after piece, that Rav Kook is driving home this message, that we have to do for the guf, that we neglected the body, we forgot the body, we abandoned the body. We have to address the guf now. It's an integral part of the redemptive process. Chelek bilti nifrad mitahlich hagoel, the guf. Now, there's a very famous question that is asked about this Gemara Nida, and that is, if we're going to forget everything anyway, so what was the point of learning Kol HaTorah Kula? I mean, it's a wonderful thing to learn Kol HaTorah Kula, learn the entire Torah if you're going to retain it, but if you're going to be deprived of it and lose it, if it's going to be totally stripped away, that's the Lashon HaGemara says, בא מלאך וסותרו על פיו ומשכחו כל התורה כולה. So what's the point? It seems pointless. Seems like an exercise in futility. Teach this ubar, kol HaTorah kula, and with one frask, one patch, take it all away. What's the point? So the Vilna Gaon says that I don't know whether the Gaon uses this exact word, but I'll use it. A Hashimu remains. Something does remain. There's like an imprint. Kabbalistic term is Rishimu. And again, I don't remember whether the Gaon uses that term Rishimu, but he conveys this thought that something is imprinted. And if you've studied a little of Plato, this is what we're getting from Reb Simloi. Sounds like the Platonic theory of reminiscence, which is that we remember something from that ideal world of forms. According to Plato, there's an ideal world of forms, and we remember something. It's called the Platonic theory of reminiscence. Anyway, the way the Vilna Gaon is explaining Reb Simloi, it sounds to me like this Platonic theory of reminiscence, that epis mashahu Shimul survives. The question is, where does it survive? All right, let's go back to Reb Nachman. The Tammuz is Rosh Zichru Torah Moshe Avdi. I've explained this many times on many different occasions, but tonight we're going to go even deeper into it. What is Reb Nachman alluding to? Well, first of all, you have to know what is the big event of Chodesh Tammuz. It's Shivasa b'Tammuz. What happened on the 17th of Tammuz? Nishtabru aluchot, Shvirat aluchot. Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Mount Sinai. He saw the Jews are dancing around the golden calf, and he smashed the luchot. Chazal say, Ilmalei nishtabru aluchot, lo nishtachat Torah Yisrael. You know, the best of us, the most brilliant of us, we forget Torah. We learn Torah, but we forget. You know, it doesn't matter how great you are. The best the game, but they forget. Everybody forgets. Why do we forget? Because of Shvirat HaLuchot. Chazal say if those tablets of the law, the Ten Commandments, would not have been smashed, we would never forget Torah. We would have perfect retention of Torah. Whatever Torah we learned, we would retain. The reason that we forget Torah is because of Shvirat HaLuchot. So, on a very simple, basic level, what Nachman is trying to convey to us is that the tikkun of Chodesh Tammuz, the repair, the avoda, the spiritual work of Chodesh Tammuz, is to be metakein Shvirat HaLuchot. This horrendous event, this horrible, tragic event that took place on 17th of Tammuz, Shvirat HaLuchot, which brought about the forgetting of Torah. So we have to be metakein that. And the way we're metakein Shchata Torah is with Zechirata Torah. So that's why he whips out this pasuk, Zichru Torah Moshe. Remember the Torah. Malachi Hanavi says, Zichru Torah Moshe. That's the tikkun of Chodesh Tammuz. So Tammuz, if you flip the otiot around, you flip the letters around, Chiluf Atvan, instead of Tav Mem Zayin, you have Zayin Tav Mem, Zichru Torah Moshe Avdi. So that's something that I've been saying many times over, but tonight I want to add Tosefet Nofech. Okay, so Reb Simloi is describing what happens on the individual level, on the level of the prat, of every individual human being. But what happens to that one newborn, the experience of that newborn, which is that he knew Kol HaTorah Kula, Ba Malach V'Sotro Lapiv, gets a stira, he gets a blow, and now he forgets the entire Torah. That's the collective experience of Klal Yisrael. Shiva B'Tammuz. At the time of Shvirat HaLuchot, we experience that on the collective level. That's the collective experience of Klal Yisrael. When Moshe Rabbeinu smashed the Luchot, Moshe Rabbeinu was this malach who gave Klal Yisrael a stira. How did he give Klal Yisrael stira? By smashing the Luchot. So the Shvirat HaLuchot, the Shvirat HaLuchot is the collective stira of Klal Yisrael, which brought about the collective shikachat Torah, shikachat kol Torah kula of Klal Yisrael, that we quoted a moment ago from Rabbi Yankel Moshe Chalab, that there is such a phenomenon where Klal Yisrael, as a klal, as a collective, goes through this experience of going from a state of knowing Kol Torah Kula to forgetting Kol Torah Kula. But the Vilna Gaon taught us something wonderful, that it's not all forgotten, something remains. But where does it remain? What remains? Well, what form does that Rishimu take? That's what we're going to explore tonight. And what remains is what Chazal call Yisrael Shamdu al Har Sinai Paskaz Umatan. We know that at the time of the Chet HaKadmon, the primordial sin, Nachash Hitil Zomah B'Chava, the serpent, the primordial serpent in the Garden of Eden, injected some kind of poison or pollution, or spiritual impurity into Chava. And Gemara Shabbat of Kuf Mem Vav says, Yisrael Shamdu al Har Sinai Paskaz Umatan. That was the Uftu. That was the great accomplishment of Har Sinai.